Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this bright and cheery card I made using the Love You to Pieces bundle that's found in the annual catalog on page 113. This stamp set is so cute with the puzzle pieces and all the sentiments that lend themselves well to puzzle pieces like a missing piece or we just fit together, thanks for keeping me together. Really cute set. I'm sure there's other stamps images that you have with sentiments that actually lend themselves to puzzles too. It comes bundled at a 10% discount with the puzzle pieces thinlits, a large square with individual puzzle pieces that get die cut, and then a bigger die cut of an individual puzzle piece, and then this cute one that cuts out the sentiment here but also is broken down into actual puzzle pieces, as you can see here. On this, the pieces actually come apart. So that's a really cool thing here. Okay, so let's get started with what we're going to be using on this card. We're going to be having a card base that's an A2 size card, and we are going to be using, it's going to be 4 1/4 by 11, and on the 11-inch side, we're going to score it at 5 1/2. And then it's going to be open from the bottom in a portrait position. So the inside of the card is going to be 4 by 5 1/4, and then the outside of the card has the black border, and that black border is 4 by 5 1/4. So that meant we went in another 1/8 of an inch on each one of the 4 sides, and that made the white Whisper White panel on the front be 3 3/4 by 5. Don't worry about writing all these things down. They'll be all on my post for this card, all the measurements, all the materials, all the colors, everything I used on this card. So let's get started with the first thing I did on this card here. The first thing I did is to stamp these puzzle pieces using this puzzle piece stamp. Yes, I already did it because I messed up my first video and already had it done. So what I did is I just put the red, the real red, and the Call Me Clover, and the Daffodil Delight, and the Pacific Point, just making sure that I cleaned off my stamp each time when I was doing it. Now on this card, I'm going to be showing you how I embossed that larger die on the inside of this card, which I loved, just a really neat look there. But on this card, I wanted to do something a little different. And so what I did is I just mimicked the front, and I just did the puzzle pieces on the bottom of my 4 by 5 1/4 that goes on the inside. So I just mimicked it there. So once I got those done, I wanted to pop up these puzzle pieces. So you could take this die here, you could take this die and you could run it through red, green, blue, yellow, and you'll have 16 pieces of each of these puzzle pieces in those colors, and that's great. I may be doing that for a class sometime. But what I did here is I saw online, and I apologize right now up front that I do not recall who had this picture. Now why can't I find my little squares? There they are. You get everything ready and then it all just seems to walk away from you. I saw online where somebody did a little trick on their Big Shot, and I promise I'll find out who it is and give that wonderful person credit for this. And she just cut squares. Now I cut my squares at 2, and if you just do that and then you tape them together, and you'll be able to just do 4 of each color, and that may just suit, you know, doing these for what you need right now. So what she did is she put them together in her Big Shot, and then she just lined up your die there, and then that's going to give you all these pieces to work with. You'll notice that a couple of the pieces will have a little knobby thing that ends up coming out. Okay, so some of the puzzle pieces have like this, a little piece of green was on there. But guess what? Nobody's gonna know the difference if we just say, okay, I'm just gonna pop that off. Still looks like a puzzle piece, right? Oh, here's some of the blue that came off here. Okay, still looks like a puzzle piece. Here's a piece that has a little bit of red on it. Still fits like a puzzle piece. As long as you're not putting your puzzle pieces back together and you're using them as a, you know, just an embellishment and something to look at on the card, you can cut all those little pieces and nobody's going to know the difference. I even noticed here a little bit of yellow came off this one. So since that little bit of yellow is there, I just took and I cut off a little bit on each side of that. So now I have more than I need for the card, but enough to make a few more cards, maybe make 4 cards. I'm trying to get a little bit better of making more than one card when I make it instead of just making one. So now I have enough of the puzzle pieces to make a few different cards. But if you were doing this for a class or you were doing it for a lot of cards or something, you probably would just want to run that whole entire die through each color and then have 16 pieces. So the next thing I did on this card, let's get back to the card here, is I've got all my pieces that are going to end up going on my card. Just kind of put them here so I just know that they're here. So I already have my puzzle pieces that are going on. So I wanted to cut out this black puzzle piece, and my little trick, all my Stampin' girls know that if they get a card kit and something's not cut out or I don't cut it out, they're like, Cindy, what are you doing? So here we go, is I just cut that black puzzle piece under the border of the white because you're not going to see that. So let's get, and technically, a lot of times they'll get their card kits and I've got flowers cut out, and then I always pop them back in their card kits so that they can have them to use on another project. But you've got that big puzzle piece that we're going to be putting on the front of the card. And then we want to make the heart here with the sentiment. So what I did is I used my Memento Black, Memento with the blends. So if you're going to be coloring, you want to use Memento Black because the Memento Black will not react with the alcohol markers. If you would use StazOn that you use for watercoloring or blending with our Stampin' blender pens, the Memento would react with the Stampin' blends and watercoloring. But Memento does not react with this, so you always want to use blends with Memento. So what I did is I stamped this image, You Are My Missing Piece, using Memento on a piece of scratch of my Whisper White. And then I just die cut it, running it through my Big Shot with a regular cutting plates, as if I was just cutting using any other die. But then what I did is whenever it came out, I put some tape on the back of it because this die, as I said, does cut into 4 puzzle pieces. So I thought if I put tape on it right now, then it's just going to stay together and I don't have to try to put them together. So then I ended up with my sentiment. And it's really neat because it has those puzzle pieces, and if you want to, you could pull some pieces up. But for this one then, I took my blends out, and I knew that I had the different colors on here, so I knew Call Me Clover was on there. I like to use the brush tip, and you have to just barely touch your paper. Barely touch your paper. And then I colored in the leaves. And that way I added color onto the sentiment since my sentiment was black, because I didn't want to use, my first inclination was to use red because of the heart. But then I thought, no, you know what's going to end up happening is I'm not going to be able to use my blends. So I used the black, and then I wanted to add some color there. So I used Call Me Clover for the leaves. And then for the smaller flower, I used the light, and I'm using the light version of each of these. So I used the light Daffodil Delight, and then the light Cherry Cobbler is beautiful as your red. If you're using the dark Cherry Cobbler, it does look Cherry Cobbler, but when you use the light one, it actually looks like real red. So there we go, and I ended up adding a lot of color to this black sentiment that's pretty big. So then we are going to start putting together the front of the card. So what I did is, whoop, sorry, you got my Florida Coastal School of Law t-shirt in the There we go, in the video there as I went going. So here we are going to put some glue on the white, and we'll put it on our black border here. Just love, I could put black on every single card. It just accents so well with everything. So there we've got that. Then we're going to put, whoop, things are flying here. We're going to put some Tombow on the back of the black. Make sure your card opens the right way. You can ask my Pittsburgh girls. They had a card on the table for display for the card that they did, that I made the card upside down. And I used Tombow glue, which you know what Tombow glue does. It is permanent. So I didn't redo the card. I just let them get a little laugh out of it. So there we go. We've got that one. And then I put the black puzzle piece up in the left corner. So I just put that up in the left corner. And then I put dimensionals behind my heart. So I just put some three dimensionals on there, should be sufficient. And then just take the little backs off those dimensionals. Okay. And then I just kind of put it right in the middle of the card. And you've got that little accent there of the black coming from behind it. And then I picked out 4 of my puzzle pieces, and I also put dimensionals on the back of those. So there's the red. This would have been a good time to get out my mini dimensionals, but these ones are handy. Daffodil and our Pacific Point. But boy, that would have been nice to have out my little minis. I need to start buying as many as those as I do the regular ones. So then I just kind of popped these puzzle pieces kind of random. Not that random, so that's off the card. But that way, they just kind of gave another little accent there. Let's see, how should we do? We'll do green there. The yellow's the one I want to be. There we go. The yellow and the blue. Never goes exactly the same each time. And then I just accented it with some of the faceted dots that are in the back in the accessories too. They come in the black and mint and a couple other pretty colors. I've been using up the black like crazy. So there you've got the front of your card. Now, as I said before, this card I wanted to just carry the inside stamping to match the outside stamping. So if you're going to use glue on the inside of your card, make sure you just put it around the edges. When you're adhering to the front of something, you can go like this, but if you do that, I can guarantee it, you're going to have bumps and squiggles all over the card. It's going to look really bad. So once in a while, send yourself a card so you can see the condition it comes in, and then you'll kind of know maybe if you should pad dimension, put some padding around your pearls or your rhinestones, or if you should put a piece of copy paper on the inside if you're using navy or black cardstock, because it can rub off going through the stamping at the post office, the postal machines, it can rub off. So send yourself a card once in a while and then see what condition it comes in. So there you go, you've got the front. And then I just put the sentiment that says, "Let's get together soon," which goes really cute with the "You're my missing piece, so let's get together soon. I really need to see you." And then I just kind of put that right on the inside of the card. So now I'm going to show you how I put this little texture on the inside of the card here. Lovely. Oh, I'm so happy. So bright and cheery. So we're going to be using our embossing mats. And I am going to give a shout out to my sweet friend Lynn back in Pittsburgh. I came up to classes last week and I forgot my embossing mats, and Lynn was a dear and let me borrow hers. And even not only was Lynn a sweetheart, but Esther was so sweet to stop at Lynn's on her way to class to bring me the mats. So I was very thankful for that. So after we used them in class, they had a lot of paper and glitter sentiments on it. And I wanted to make sure, since Lynn was so gracious to let me use her mats, that they came back looking just beautiful. So Esther suggested she would use a lint roller on it for me. So my sweet, sweet Esther decided that she would just go ahead and take them, and she used a lint roller on them. Then she texted me and told me it worked perfectly. So I'm just going to show you. See, this is just like residue that was on my Big Shot and on my plates, but check this out. Just take a lint roller across your embossing mat and look how clean it is. Just worked out wonderful. So thanks for that tip, Esther, and thank you, Lynn, for letting me use your embossing mats. So look at that. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is I'm going to show you how I used this die here to emboss on the inside to get this nice embossing here. Okay, so what you're going to do is, this is your Big Shot platform that has the thin plate adapter. You're going to remove the thin plate adapter, and then you're going to put down an acrylic plate. This would be the time to use an acrylic plate that is relatively on the newer side, so it doesn't have a lot of etching in it and scratches and cut marks in it, because you're going to be having to put the good side down of your paper that's on the inside. So if you have a lot of etching here in your on your acrylic mat, tongue-tied, on your acrylic plate, you're actually going to get etching onto the paper. So I save one that's relatively clean. This actually hasn't had any cutting on it. It just has a little bit of marks from dies touching it on the other side of it. So you're going to put down the Big Shot platform minus the thin die adapter. If you are using if you have the multi-purpose one that opens up, you would actually have it opened up as if you were going to be embossing with it, okay? So you put down the plate, and then what you're gonna do is put your die where you want it. Now, recall that where you put it is going upside down. So when I put this down on the card, I had to remember it would be on this side. So if you want the impression to go on the opposite side, which I did on this one, as you can see, these are two different ones. This one has it on the left side, this one has it on the right side. So just remember that you're putting it upside down when you put it in there. So let's just say I put it in this way, okay? Let's just pretend that you don't see that, okay? So you're gonna put it the way you would want it to be, okay? You're going to put the cut side going on the paper, and you're gonna flip it so the good side is down, and you can see the cutting blades going up towards you, okay? So the paper and then the cutting blades are underneath it. So then you're going to take your gray mat and you're going to cover it. You do this very carefully, because if you just flop it down, you can move the die. So you put your gray mat on there, and then you put your white mat on, your white plate, and then you roll it through your Big Shot. So if you were taking your Big Shot apart, you would notice that you have this white plate, then you have your gray embossing mat, then you have your cardstock, then you have your die cut side up, and then you have your acrylic plate, and then your Big Shot platform. So once again, you're going to put your die down, you're going to put your paper where you would want the impression to be, then you're going to put your gray embossing mat, then you put your white plate, and then you're just going to roll it through your Big Shot. And then when you bring it all apart, you're going to end up seeing this. And then that ends up being that really cool impression that you can put on the inside of your card. So just think of the many, many, many things that you can do with these embossing mats. And it comes with a thinner blue one here. And the thinner one just makes a lesser impression on your cardstock. So there you go. You can do the inside of your card with that impression using your embossing mats, or you can add some color in there and just do some stamping. So pretty neat that you have all that to do with this bundle here. So page 113 of the annual catalog, Love You to Pieces bundle. If you have any questions, you can always text me at 724-323-2296. You can go to my blog, cindyleeBdesigns.com, and you'll see the card post, tips and tricks that I did in this video with all the measurements. And if you have any questions, you can email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.